So I know you used to be in Phoenix and you were very in or super involved with the community and all of the music scene and things like that. But when you moved to Tucson, you kind of got quiet. What season are you in now and where are you located currently?
Luckily, that's also like where I met you was in Phoenix, and obviously how I know your partner Charlie, and we've been, running in those Phoenix streets. But I think, yeah, when I was super involved in Phoenix, what I realized is what I realized why I was able to move so quickly was just because of, I don't know, to be honest, like a need for validation. And so, you kind of want to keep moving and grooving and having people say positive things about you, nice things about you, whatever the case may be. And not that my heart wasn't in the right place, but I realized that what was actually sustaining me was not satiating me, right? So like it was like the followers and feeling known in the community and things of that sort, which is fine. But to be completely transparent, why I actually left the city was because I didn't know how to deal with an uncomfortable situation. I know, like so much so, right? To like leave a whole city, and kind of, looking back on it in hindsight, I'm like, huh, I wonder what it looks like to stay, right? And like, what does that actually look like in terms of friendships and relationships? And realizing like when it does get hard, like when meaning it's going to happen, like how do we have better skills and practices to move through that uncomfortability. So I like feel like for me like I've been wanting to be transparent about that because I think the way that I pegged it at the time was like that as if something was better in Tucson or whatever the case, like or that something was calling me there. And the reality is I just didn't know how to have a hard conversation at that point, and so when I got to Tucson, I tried playing the same plays, and it didn't work. I don't think. Well, first off, Phoenix and Tucson have a weird big brother, little brother relationship, so I was like, ugh. So me telling anybody that I was from Phoenix, I think I already rubbed them the wrong way, unfortunately. But honestly, I think that was also like the dark night of the soul time too, and like everything that I thought worked for me at the time didn't work for me anymore, and so it was. I didn't have a choice but to get quiet, and really ask myself like, why did I do the things that I did, and so that's why I had those realizations of like, oh, like I was hustling and bustling for the validation. I was hustling and bustling because I thought like the change I wanted to create had to be big, right, and loud, and like kind of taking into context like where social media was at that time, like 2016, 2017, right? Videos were barely becoming like a minute long. You know what I mean? Like we were all trying to figure it out. And so, like I said, I had no choice but to get quiet because I had to realize like whatever I was doing in the past wasn't going to work for my future. And so I'm trying to think. I'm like, how did I get to San Diego? But yeah, and so then life called, and I ended up in San Diego. And thankfully, the good thing that came out of Tucson is that I got my best friend out of it. So I had to go to, she hates when I say this, but I had to go to the butthole of Arizona. But we've agreed it's Yuma. Yuma's the butthole, Tucson's the armpit. Just don't tell anybody that. Yeah, just so you know. But yeah, so what season I'm in? I would say I'm definitely like I'm like budding the ground for a spring season, And actually today I was having coffee with a friend this morning, and I realized that there's a little bit of fear of being seen. There's a little bit of fear of like breaking ground for sure, right? Like we don't know how much work it takes for a seed to actually break ground, and what's happening in that winter season, But because Phoenix and the way I operated for the past decade was so rooted in so much like insecurity that I'm at this point I can feel myself just being afraid to be seen. You know what I mean? And so the season I'm in is like kind of recognizing that spring is coming and that it's gonna happen with or without you. You know what I mean? It's gonna happen with or without me. And like I feel like what was happening in the winter season, like just like this cultivation in my heart, like it my human self says like I'm not ready, right? Like I'm not ready to be seen in that and things of that sort. And also because I don't want to be dragged into the old game. I don't want to be dragged into my insecurities. I don't want to be dragged into, old ways and old plays. But now it's like, but it's kind of like those things like you don't really know if you've grown. You don't really know if you've gotten past that until you put yourself out there. And I think also the realization of like me not being seen is also a disservice to the people I'm supposed to be serving. So the season is, spring is coming, my birthday is right around the corner, and I'm just wanting to I think the difference of what I'm going to do in this season is I'm not going to move until it feels good to move. Yeah. So I think, I do feel that I'm going to be moving differently, but it's kind of like learning how to walk again. Like, do I know how to walk? Do I know how to ice skate or whatever the case? Like, I'm just like, and yeah, just not wanting to look like a complete fool, but realizing like that's a part of it. You know what I mean? And that the more I stay hidden, the more, the more that I feel like we're not like walking in our truth and our purpose, right? But it's scary because that means that we're open and we're vulnerable to rejection and opinions and things of that sort. But I've realized that what can mere mortals do to me, you know? But more than anything, how can we be a part of our tribe and be a contributing force and factor to it too, and realizing that's what's most important and not based off of what people say about us. But of course, easier said than done. I'm not going to say, like, I don't care. I'm like, no, I care. I'm Filipino. We are taught to care about what other people think of us. You know what I mean? And so to do differently is a little bit difficult.
Mm-hmm. It is. That's so powerful because it just, literally just breathes what our generation, needs. It needs that message to say it's okay to move, and it's okay to move differently, and it's okay to move at whatever pace that you have, and, learn to have those hard conversations. You know what I mean? Because hard conversations change the conversation, so we're not having the same conversation.
That part. And I think the beauty of being in a relationship with people who are willing to have the hard conversations and willing to like try again. And that's why I'm so grateful for Aisa and like just being able to do that practice in the winter season. So now that when we're in a place of feeling seen and vulnerable, like being able to, when it happens again, being able to have those skills and practice to be able to try again. For whatever's going to come.
Okay. Awesome. I'm excited for this blossom season for you.
Oh, it's so uncomfortable. But I'm excited for it. I know, I think like, that's something we have to remember, right? Like, who's coming is for us, And if they're not for us, then cool, it's a redirection. And I think that's the hard part when it's like you're always, I speak from my younger self, I wanted everyone to always be for me, right? And now I'm like, no, thank you.
I can't handle all the us, but I can handle me and how I show up.
Yeah.
I think that's the true message there.
Yeah. And again, it goes back to like what we said, easier said than done. And that's why I was just like realizing like, oh, that's the hard part about nowadays. It's like we have all this like wisdom, right? Like on the internet and things like and that factor, but it's like where's the application? Where's the execution? Where's the stumbling? Where's the messiness and all that? And like truly, being like real about that, So it's gonna be messy, y'all.